I'm publishing a blog today that's talking about, have you ever met a Pharisee? Hey everyone, welcome to Surviving Religious Burnout Shipping World Headquarters. I'm over here about to go to the post office to send out some books to some folks, and I've been printing and cutting, and that's my little scale right there, and some shipping supplies, and so that's what I'm doing today. But before I leave to go do that, I thought I would take a minute and just talk to you a little bit about the book, just share some thoughts with you from the first chapter. I'm publishing a blog today that's talking about, have you ever met a Pharisee? And so I mentioned this in the last video, but a lot of you have told me, like, hey, why don't you try doing some audio or YouTube, because I'm not good at reading. Words are hard for me. I went to Louisiana public schools. Just kidding about all of that. So I'm going to try this YouTube thing out, some video stuff, give you the format to consume the blog post. So this is basically the blog in a video form, and that's my first shot at it. So, might be a little rough, but that's okay. So today's topic is, have you ever met a Pharisee? And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Chariots of Fire, but it's got that real famous soundtrack. Dun, 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 dun. So a lot of people use that, in reference to competition and racing. And, I was really fascinated when I finally watched this movie, that the only time that they use that particular song in the movie was at the beginning, in the opening scene. In the opening scene, the runners are running down the beach, water splashing in the air as they step through it. The wind's blowing in their hair, and the song is very connected to competition, but it really has nothing to do with competition at all. That moment that is captured on film there is just these runners enjoying running because they love to run. And I think that's a great picture of how we can sometimes get things mixed up in Christianity and end up getting burned out. In fact, I like this quote from Eric Liddell in Chariots of Fire. He says, "I believe God made me for a purpose, but he also made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure." I think we should feel God's pleasure when we live our lives as Christians. I think we should run fast. I think we should find our purpose. We should have a mark. We don't run aimlessly. But I think we should feel God's pleasure. And a lot of times we miss that. And I think we begin to think that our Christianity is about good works, and it's not. It's not about good works at all. It should produce good works, but it's not about good works. It's about knowing God, and out of that love relationship, all these good works and all these great things overflow. And the thing about this, I said the topic today was, have you ever met a Pharisee? And that's my question for you. Have you ever met someone who considered themselves to be a Pharisee? Probably not. Most well-meaning believers have no idea that they have slipped into something that resembles a Christian spiritual performance trap. Some people call it being a Pharisee. Some people call it legalistic. But I think it's something that anybody can slip into without even knowing it. And it might be possible you're in that position today. The latest Pharisee conference that they did, the National Pharisee Conference, had 0 people show up because no one thinks they're a Pharisee. But we all have those moments where God asks us to look into our heart, examine our heart. And I think if we do, we'll all find a little bit of a Pharisee in there that needs to be removed from time to time. And so that's my challenge for you. Let's get off the spiritual treadmill. Let's avoid religious burnout. If you don't know what that is, in the book I define it as a cycle of gaining your worth and security as a believer from what you do for God instead of who you are in Christ. And let's turn that around. Let's get the most out of our relationship with God, and let's find some enjoyable, meaningful Christianity. Dun, 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 dun.